Okay, Year 8s, here we go. As promised, finally made it to school on a day when it's not too windy, with the intention of doing a few Litchi missions. So I've got the drone on, just outside the VCE Centre, and I'm just back inside the VCE Centre now, getting the app working. So I've loaded up missions for Douglas, Gus, Molly Fredericks, and Noah Goff as well. Or Gould. I can never say that right. Sorry, Noah. So we'll see how we go. So first things first, we've got to get our missions loaded up. We've got to get our connections working between the tablet, which is just coming up now by the looks of things, the transmitter for the drone, as well as the drone itself. All right, so we've got a visual there. What you're looking at there is what the drone sees from the ground, just outside the VCE Centre room there. The back of the VCE Centre. So I'm going to go to FPV there and switch that to a waypoint. So I'll try and get through all 4 missions. Might have to do this in 2 goes though. It comes down to a little bit how much battery life we can get away with. So at the moment there we're looking at the map view. So I can zoom that out. You can see the drone is just outside the VCE Centre there. That blue dot indicates where I'm sitting. Now, that's not exactly where I'm sitting. I'm actually sitting a little bit closer to this spot where you can see the green square just coming up on screen, or where that waypoint came up, sorry, that's where I'm sitting. But sometimes when you're indoors, you don't get the greatest satellite accuracy. Where the drone's showing though, that's exactly where the drone is, so that's the main thing. All right, so we'll go to load up, and we'll see if we can find a mission. Who's first on my list? Douglas, you are first. So let's scroll down. D for Doug. Load it up. So this is Doug's mission. So you can see his first waypoint there above the library. So that's where it'll fly to first. It doesn't matter where you take off from it, that's what it'll do. First it'll get to a safe height, and then it'll make its way to waypoint number 1. So let's get underway. Press the play button. I'll switch to camera view. Just make sure that all our waypoints there are at least 30 metres high. So it looks like 38 metres was what Doug was happy with. Couple in there at 40. As long as they're all above 30, we're not going to crash into anything. Alright, this is it. That movement is the drone starting its rotors up, and up we go. Now Doug's mission is not perfect, but it's not a bad effort. Now one thing you'll notice at the moment is that the drone camera is just pointing straight ahead, so I'm going to manually point that down a little bit just to make what we're looking at a little bit more interesting. So you can see down there, school's looking a little bit different to what you would have remembered from term 1. There was a big fence there with a whole heap of building and construction mess underneath, which has been removed, and they're growing a bit of grass there at the moment. Got to make the most of these opportunities when people are not going to be walking all over them. All right.
Recording started.
I can see that it's started a recording there, which is fine. So that's obviously something that Doug has programmed in to the mesh. So that recording started. We'll be recording video to the SD card that is on the drone. Oh, a couple of birds there getting in the way. So the video quality we look at now, this is the live stream video quality, which is not too bad. It can transmit in 1080p, but the video you pull off the drone itself is always the highest quality. It actually records in 4K, so that's the better video. We'll just flick over to our map mode here. So this is the mission as it was created in Litchi by Doug. And he's rounding the boundary of our property nicely there. So there's no hassles with flying over our own property. And I can see him making it around to most of the places where we were set to make deliveries. However, he's not dropping exactly as the instructions stated. But it's still a fine effort, and you'll still get a fine assessment, Doug, so fear not. But there would be a little bit of niggle room in there where we could make a slightly better version. I'll just flick to the camera there. You can see it actually dropping there on the altitude. It did drop down to the 30 metres there. Looks like we're recording video though instead of taking photos, which is, again, it's not quite what the instructions said, but alas, we're still flying a successful mission. Now we're flying backwards at the moment, Doug. Wouldn't always recommend flying backwards if you can avoid it. The drone does have a couple of systems on board, a couple of sensors on the front and a couple of sensors on the bottom, which can help you avoid obstacles. Now your heights are all set well above 30 metres, so we're not going to crash into anything, but if you are pointing the drone forwards, it will detect an impending collision, and if you go on slow enough, it will stop and avoid those collisions. So generally speaking, we would advise that you fly your missions with the drone pointing forwards. You do obviously get some pretty nice cinematic shots though, cruising sideways as you are at the moment. So I'll go back to the camera view there, and got you cruising over the ovals. Just going to manually pick up your camera view there. So this is how TV shows and news reports and anything that does use drone footage, they would be using waypoint missions to create the smooth shots that they have. So it is creating a pretty smooth image at the moment. Any quality drops you see, you wouldn't see those on the video that you pull off the drone. So the live feed is really just so you know that it's pointing where you want it to be pointing, if you're taking photographic stuff, that is, and if you're using it for another reason, for a tactical reason, or if you were trying to find someone, or maybe if you were trying to spot a fire or something like that, the quality, it wouldn't be the be-all and end-all if you had slight quality drops as you flew around. Now, you can see Kingsley down there drawing some white lines on the quartz. We'll probably be looking up at the drone wondering what we're up to. Although I'm sure he knows that it's us. So back to our map view there. Let's just see how we're getting along here. So we've got 3 more waypoints to cruise past. Here's 15, 16 and 17. You can see there we are flying almost backwards again, which means we don't have those sensors, those impact sensors, working in our favour the way that we will have now that it's actually cruising in a sort of forwards direction. As we approach our final waypoint. Beautiful. So a successful mission, Doug. You've done well. All right, let's load another one up.
Recording stopped.
Who's next on the list? Let's see what Noah has for us. Now, I might have Noah's old mission. So Noah sent me a mission which needed a bit of adjusting. So I might have the old version here. We'll just have to have a look. So looking at what we've got here, this is not exactly as the instructions have asked us to do, but this will still be a pretty interesting flight. It's just a big cruise around the main body of the school, and the camera is always pointing inwards. So this is going to give us a pretty good view. I think this one will be well worth a look. So we'll fire it up. We'll make sure those waypoints are above 30 metres. And it looks like everything's at 40. There's one there at 30, 40, 40, 40, 40, 40, 40, 40. One at 30. Alright, so there's no hassles there in terms of being too low. So let's give it a cruise. Going to flick to the camera view on this one. We might as well make the most of what we're having a look at. So it's not looking at its the centre of the school yet. I think it's just making its way to waypoint number 1 before it does that. Where is waypoint number 1? There we go. So she's cruising now. So we flick to the camera view there. Oh, dropping down. Excellent view there of the buildings that were removed. So if we look at the map view here, you do actually see this building. Have a look at the green square. Sorry, this patch here, where the green square just popped up on your screen capture. That's our old science wing. So on Google Maps, that still exists because Google Maps is obviously running an older image of the school, but that's been gone for a little while now. And there is actually a bit of grass growing there, but it's obviously not growing thick enough for us to be able to see it from our drone cam. Excellent view there of the ILC and the wreck behind it. And my apologies, Noah, I don't believe I have your most up-to-date mission, but we're still flying a successful mission out there. And still worth a look. So as he flies around, you'll see there's a blue line and a yellow line. The yellow line links the waypoints, and the blue line is where the drone will actually fly. So you can see it here well on waypoint 23, that the blue line, it sort of cuts the corner off that waypoint. So that's to make your flight and your footage smoother. That's called your curve size, and that's something you can set in Litchi. So if you're flying for tactical purposes, you don't want any curve, you want the drone to go exactly where you want it to go. If you are flying for cinematic purposes and trying to capture nice video, then you definitely do want a big curve. You could create a shape like this that would, it wouldn't really touch any corners at all. Nice one. So we're at our 29th waypoint there, and by the looks of this, this will be about the end of our mission. We've still got about 13 minutes of a drone flying time on that battery, according to what I can see. Well done, Noah. A nice mission. All right, now I have used Molly Fredericks' mission in a different video, and I used that as an example of a really excellent version and a really accurate copying of the instructions. So we'll give that one a fly. So this is her mission as it looks on the map. Press the play button. Make sure that we have no waypoints below 30 metres, just as a last visual double check. Everything looks like it's at 40s and 30s. Always best to just double and triple check though. There is a drone in the sky out there after all. Alright, it's go time. Let's see what we've got. So, if all is going to plan, first thing that the drone is going to do is fly to the front of the library. So you can see the checkerboard in the centre of the screen there. That is out the front of the library. So that's our waypoint number 1. Now, the order you do the waypoints in is not that important. And I don't think Molly has followed the waypoints as they were listed, but that's not necessarily the most efficient way to fly anyway. So looks like we're heading over to the staff car park, over the ILC there, the cleanest roof in Ballarat, I think, for the time being anyway. Just going to tilt that camera up a little bit manually. So the idea would be that we would arrive at 40 metres. Now we're at 39.8. That's not a problem with Molly's mission planning. That would just be an anomaly of the drone being in the air. So it looked like it did drop down to the 30, and it looks like it's moving on to the next waypoint. So at every delivery point, we should see that drone go from an altitude of 40 to 30. So the altitude is detailed on the bottom left of your screen. So you can see it now dropping to 30. And that was the point where it should be taking a photo. and then it will come back up. Now the photos that it is taking, they don't end up on my tablet. They are saved directly to the SD card on the drone as well, and they're much higher quality than what the live stream is as well. So it captures its photos in 12 megapixel, which are fairly high detail images. Let's just have a look at our map view. Looks like we are heading, where's our drone, to a cricket pitch in the centre of the oval. Cruising over to the tennis courts now. You can see a few car tracks there, where the grass has been mowed out there. See the top of those trees there. Those trees would be a good 20 metres high. So dropping to our 30 and back up to our 40 before we go to our next spot. So if you look at the bottom left, that's where your altitude is. You've got your distance as well. So that distance indication there is the distance from the takeoff point. So it's only at 160 metres now. That active range for this drone is 7K, so we're miles within the range of what this drone is capable of. Cruising at about 15 k's an hour, which is a good cruising speed for having a look at things. You can fly around faster than that, but you're not going to see everything if you push the drone to full speed limit. And you can see another couple of indicators. If we go along the top of the screen at the moment, if you look over where my head is, the 41% we've got indicated over there, that is the battery life of the drone. So at 40%, there's also a big green and red line along the top of the screen, which indicates it sort of shrinks as you go to give you a really good idea of how much flying time you've got left. So at red, it starts to alarm and says it's time to land. And at the moment, it's indicating we've got 8 minutes 40 of flight time left. So we go up to my head again where it says 38%. Next to that you've got your video strength signal. You've got your transmitter strength signal. WP indicates that we're working on a waypoint mission. And the 88% you've got is for the transmitter battery. So the transmitter battery will normally might do 3 batteries for the drone between charges. So the transmitter doesn't work nearly as hard as the drone battery. Although if you fly a long way away, the transmitter battery does work pretty hard. And then you've got your 18 next to your little picture of a satellite. So that means that the drone's locked in with 18 satellite signals. And that's pretty much all the information that you can get, or the most meaningful information that this screen will give you as the mission flies around. Flick back to map view there. Check how we're going here. So we're heading over to waypoints 23, 24, 25, and 26, 27, 28 will be our last ones. So we've got one over here that'll have a bit of a peek at the back of the cafeteria. And then a final one which is between the old hall, the caf, and the library. So if we pull that SD card out of the drone, we would have the 10 photos that Molly was meant to take at each of these delivery points. Those trees looking beautiful at the front of the school. Awesome. Okay, so I think that is the end of that mission. And I think, low battery, so I was going to load up one more mission, but I am going to pop a new battery in the drone and I'll rejoin this video in 2 seconds. Just give me one moment.
Attention, shading clipped, park 1 please, shading clipped for park 1.